welcome all of you. West Coast, live with another one. All right, so here we go, guys. Back with another one. He's on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, the Race Whisperer is coming back at you with another episode. Mr. Marty Miller, a.k.a. Victory. Well, obviously, that's the name of his gym, not necessarily the name of him or his nickname, but yes, that is the name of his gym. Shout-outs to Victory MMA out in Ohio, because, you know, Ohio is one of those really important combat sports type of towns, type of cities, right? Obviously, Jake Paul comes from there, Adrian Broner, Kevin Randleman. The list goes on. Stipe Miocic. He says 2 weeks out, brother. 2 weeks out for which one? Your fight or one of your homies' fight? This opponent is Pereira wannabe. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about which fight specifically are you talking about? And when you say 2 weeks out, okay, 2 weeks out from Nate's fight. Got it. Okay, got it. Okay, great, man. Great. I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing that once again. And as I've told you, obviously, the last opponent that he had, Division I wrestler, it is a tough outing for anybody. And obviously, it's still a great experience for Nate nonetheless, right? An example of something very similar to that. Remember when Michael Bisping lost to Tim Kennedy? When he lost to Tim Kennedy, Tim Kennedy basically outgrinded him all throughout those 5 rounds, right? But obviously, it didn't mean that Michael Bisping was not going to go on to have a successful run, especially at, you know, the middleweight division. By the way, speaking of the middleweight division, this segues me into this particular topic right now. What is going on with the middleweight division? Because today, it is going to be fight day for the 2 biggest 185ers in the UFC right now, Sean Strickland and, what's his name? Fluffy Hernandez, the guy that I shared a card with. And for those of you that are new to the channel, man, looks like we got about 45 people in here right now. Man, the channel is absolutely growing. I'm going to need you guys to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because here's a couple of things I'm going to run down with you, right? As you like and subscribe, we're going to react to Khamzat taking on Jiri, set to take place at UFC 327, April 11, 2026 in Miami, as Khamzat goes for his double Undisputed championship. Now, what does that mean in the era of double champions, as opposed to the champions of the past who defended their belts multiple times? The likes of George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. You could remember even Jose Aldo was part of that whole generation, right? So those names that I just mentioned, Anderson Silva, GSP, Jose Aldo, during that time, they defended their belts multiple times. They never went above and beyond. Now, obviously, Anderson Silva had a few 205 fights, right? Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin. He had one with Daniel Cormier. I believe that fight was set for heavyweight, I believe, right? I believe that was a heavyweight fight, because I don't know if Anderson Silva specifically made 205 for the UFC 200 card, right? If you remember, he was there as a replacement for John Jones. But nonetheless, he never went after a second title. George St. Pierre never went for a title while he was the 170 champ. In fact, he vacated the belt only to come back 3 years later, right? It seemed like a really long stretch, but in reality, he stopped fighting in 2013 and continued right back where he left off in 2017, which is, I would say, about roughly 3 to 4 years, right? I know I said 3 years, but obviously those months are going to round that off. But anyways, yeah, he never went for the double championship. He had an opportunity to fight against Anderson Silva. I believe Anderson Silva was supposed to fight GSP at one point. during the Damian Maia fight of UFC, I believe it was UFC 112. What was UFC 112? I believe that was the Abu Dhabi card in 2010. Okay, was that? Ah, yes, I was correct. I was correct on my number there. Yeah, UFC 112 it was, right? So, David Logan says, what are you talking about? I'm obviously talking about MMA. If you're not here for an MMA channel, get the F out. Okay? Like, I don't know what you are asking. I don't know. Maybe you just dropped in. Obviously, I'm doing a vertical stream, so you're probably like scrolling up and down. And so you probably run across my channel and you're probably wondering who is this terrorist looking bearded weirdo that's talking like he's a newscaster from the Midwest or something like that, right? But obviously I'm not from the Midwest. I'm from Sacramento, California, where we represent the West Side out here, baby. So that's how we do. So yes, we're here to talk about MMA. We're here to talk about UFC 327, which by the way is going to feature Khamzat Chimaev and Jiri. Now, Khamzat is the 185 champion. He's never defended that belt, which kind of brings us into the segue of what this era is in comparison to, let's say, the times of Anderson Silva. Now, Khamzat Chimaev is holding on to the belt that Anderson Silva defended multiple times, okay? And he was a very dominant champion. Now, a lot of people would argue Khamzat is also a very dominant champion minus the DDP fight. However, he's not willing to go and fight and defend it. He wants to go up and follow this trend of double championship. And here's the thing. What makes Khamzat Chimaev believe that he can fight at 205? Let me read some of these comments right here before I continue on. So his opponent is a Pereira wannabe. Okay, so 2 weeks out of Nate's fight, as Victory and I are talking about that. Victory says, I think this quick turnaround is going to be good for his mental. Yes, considering that he probably didn't take a lot of damage in that last fight, right? So that's kind of the best trajectory to go off, right? You didn't take much damage, go right back in there, right? That's kind of what Conor McGregor did when he beat Jose Aldo. He jumped right back in there, fought. He was supposed to fight RDA for the championship. RDA pulled out. Instead, Nate comes in. He gets beat by Nate Diaz. After he gets beat by Nate Diaz, they rematch months later. And then after he wins that rematch, then he goes for a double championship against Eddie Alvarez. So, yeah, he played it safe. There you go. He says, Fresh Melon Juice says, the DDP fight was dominant but boring. Very true. Yes, that's exactly what it was. He says, what? I didn't know Khamzat was fighting Jiri. I thought your thumbnail was more of a clickbait. Well, let's take a look at this, right? Apparently, when you look at ChatGPT on Google, this is what it is, right? Khamzat is heavily rumored to face former champion Jiri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight title in the main event of UFC 327, April 11th. By the way, interesting that I mentioned the Anderson Silva card in 2010, right? That took place in April 10th, 2010. This one is set to take place April 11th, 2027 in Miami, the potential blockbuster matchup that features Chimaev's relentless wrestling against Jiri Prochazka's unpredictable and high-volume striking. So this is going to take place in Miami, Casilla Center in Miami, Florida. Now, they haven't announced it yet, right? But I'm willing to assume that this is the trajectory that they're going to go off of. Now, I know a lot of people are saying maybe Khamzat is going to fight at the White House. Well, understand this. It's still April. And if he dominates Jiri Prochazka, which is a possibility, imagine he goes in there, shoots in for a takedown, takes Jiri down, pounds him out, and then gets a submission, maybe a rear naked choke. Didn't take much damage. What does he do then? He goes in there and fights once again. Get right back in there again at 205. Who's he going to take on at 205? Maybe Alex Pereira. Now, where is Alex Pereira in all of this, since they are going to have a vacant title, obviously, because it is not Pereira who Khamzat Chimaev is fighting. It is Jiri Prochazka. Maybe, just maybe, Khamzat might want to go for a fourth belt. Imagine this scenario. Alex Pereira wins the heavyweight championship at the White House, right? Big for his career. What's going to happen after that? You guys have to remember, right? there's still fights that have to happen before and after the White House. Everybody right now, especially the casuals, specifically the casuals, okay? Not us hardcore fans, because us hardcore fans right now, we're concentrated on Fluffy versus Sean Strickland, which is going on today, fight day, right? So we're also concentrated on UFC 326. And then what is UFC 327? They don't know. They don't have an announcement, but they need to fill something up. So what about after the White House? There's still a UFC. There's still a Paramount deal that they have to attend to. They still have to have these matchups played out. So what are they going to do in the process? Well, they have to make even bigger matchups after that, because now that you've topped the White House, you had a great fight, a great card, a great event. Now you have this big notoriety around you. You have to follow up, because now you created new fans. Remember, this fight is going to be free on TV at the White House, right? For the expense of the American taxpayers' money. I don't know if that's the case, or maybe Dana White bought it himself, or maybe Dana White, Trump, and maybe the Saudis along the way are also in on it as well, right? You never know. The fact of the matter is that these fights have to happen in terms of following up from the White House. So there's more matchups coming up. Now, what are they going to have at the White House? We don't know yet. Maybe this fight could be held at the White House. Nothing is for certain right now, but rest assured, as 326 is about to play out, which is when? When is UFC 326? So let's take a look at when UFC 326 is. UFC 326 is going to be March 7th. That's not too far away. We are in the 21st of February right now, so that's literally a couple of weeks away, right? So we have that matchup. After that, it is what happens afterwards. You have Josh Emmett against Kevin Vallejos. That's in March 14th. Now, how about this? London card. This is the card that I'm really excited about. Undefeated versus undefeated. Movsar Evloev taking on Laron Murphy at the O2 Arena in London. Okay, and then you have Luke Riley taking on Michael Aswell. Names that are not that known. Michael Venom Page taking on Sam Peterson, which I believe is a safe matchup for Michael Venom Page. A very safe matchup, right? Now, they're probably wondering, like, why are they matching him up against Sam Peterson? Here's the thing. Michael Venom Page is yet to score a knockout in the UFC, right? All of his fights have gone to a decision. They want to give him a highlight reel of some sort, right? Why not give him a highlight reel in the middle of London, and maybe Sam Patterson is the rightful matchup to be able to do it. So after the Evloev versus Murphy card, what happens after that, after March 21st? March 28th is going to feature Israel Adesanya and Joe Pfeiffer. How about that, right? So once again, you know, a continuous converter belt for the 185 division. What happens if Joe Pfeiffer actually beats Israel Adesanya? There's a great chance of that. Israel Adesanya has been looking kind of chinny lately. He got chinned by Imavov. Could it be a possibility that he gets chinned again by Joe Pfeiffer? You never know. Maybe he's just over the hill at this point of his career, but one never knows. After that March 28th card, obviously April 4th, what is this? Jose Delano versus Robert Ruchala. Who is that? April 4th card? I'm assuming that is going to be an Apex card. And then after that, that's literally all that they have right there. They don't have anything announced or anything like that. So, which tells you in the next coming days or weeks, for sure, they are going to announce these fights with Khamzat Chimaev and Jiri Prochazka, if that is the matchup that they have going on. Which leads you to the conclusion that Alex Pereira is really going for a third belt. So welcome to the double championship era. 185, 205, now going for heavyweight. Khamzat Chimaev going for middleweight, now looking to get, let's say, the 205 belt. So that's kind of what we have going on right now, right? And then obviously the vacant heavyweight championship is up for grabs because, let's be honest, Tom Aspinall is going to get stripped. So these are a couple of predictions that I've been making, right? Let's run through a couple of predictions that I've been making. They're going to strip Tom Aspinall, okay? It's only a matter of time. You cannot unless, of course, look, if they don't strip Tom Aspinall, it will be because out of nowhere he decides, hey, I'm going to go and take this fight. I'm going to go and take this fight at the White House or after the White House. That is a possibility. Maybe he was just using all of these stall tactics in order to, I don't know, maybe avoid Cyril Gane, right? I don't think, even if Tom Aspinall is healthy, I don't think that he will ever fight Cyril Gane again for multitudes of reasons. Because number one, he's already traumatized by the fact that he got his eye poked. Okay, he's already traumatized by that reality. So the fact that he's traumatized by the reality of being eye poked, there's also the factor of knowing this guy has your number. Okay, this guy has your number. You couldn't take him down. That's your best case scenario, is to submit him. We now found out that you can't strike with him because it seems that Cyril Gane is a better striker than Tom Aspinall. Maybe Tom Aspinall is a much better grappler, but how are you going to see that if you can't take him down? Because indicative of that fight and how it played out, Tom Aspinall had a hard time taking him down, and as a result, this is what happens. Okay, he has it in his brain that I don't need to fight this guy. He's a dirty fighter. He's going to say something to the effect of, well, you know what? Wow, Brad, he says, I have a boxing match at 10 a.m. Any last minute advice? 10 a.m. What part of the world are you from? Obviously, I would assume the United States, because if you're talking about a.m., it is what? 7:41 a.m. here in the West Coast. So what is your location and what is your time zone? Yeah, I don't know if that particularly matters in the advice that I'm about to give you, but it kind of gives me context of how long you need to prepare in terms of the advice that I'm about to give you. So yeah, give me some more context of where you're at, where your fight location is, and where you trained at, so that I can give you some proper advice. He says, I'm in LA. Great, great. Okay, so you're a West Coast guy. Gotcha. The Uzbek says, happy Ramadan, bro. Ramadan Mubarak to you as well, and everybody in Uzbekistan. I'm assuming you're from Uzbekistan because, well, of your name, indicative of your name, the Uzbek, right? That's like me having the name, the Italian or the American. Hey, where are you from? Oh, I don't know, Milan? Oh, you're the American? Okay, maybe you're from Los Angeles. Maybe you're from Chicago. Maybe you're from New York. But speaking of LA, Brad, you're in LA, so that fight is going to be in 2 hours. Here's my advice for you in the boxing match. Keep your hands up. Keep your range. Now, I don't know if you're a range type of fighter or you're a close range Mexican style of fighter where you like to throw hooks and uppercuts up close range. But what I would do, and obviously I have a different style to how I would do things. I would fight in the distance, keep myself safe, be very defensive, be aware of your guard at all times. Be aware of the ropes behind you, because once you get stuck behind the ropes, you are leaving yourself open and susceptible of body shots, of getting hit in close range, especially if the fighter is, let's say, very much, you know, yeah, a Mexican style fighter that likes to fight close range. You have to be very aware of this. So circle around, be aware of what's behind you. He says there is a brawler. Who is the brawler? Are you talking about specifically your opponent, or are you talking about yourself per se? Because if you're a brawler, man, I don't know how
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it.
Because if you're a brawler, I don't know how I would give you an advice on this particular advice. He says, yeah, I'm going to take all that advice to heart. Thank you, my man. Thank you. I hope... okay, so you are a brawler. Okay, that's you saying, yeah. I don't know why my my phone that I'm recording or live streaming from says something completely different than what is being said on the computer. Right, he says, Brad, best advice is to hit your opponent, but don't let him hit you. I think that is the name of the game, right? Victory, especially in boxing, hit and don't get hit. But also, yeah, be aware of also be very patient, okay? Be very patient. I need you to be very patient with being a brawler. I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can, you know, give you the advice of, let's say, fighting in range. But when you're in trouble and you're getting hit close range, try to alleviate yourself from that position, give some space, use your jabs, right? Always use your jab. Remember, use your jab as an opening for everything, right? If you want to throw a cross, make sure you start it off with a jab. If you want to hit an uppercut, make sure you start it off with a jab. If you want to hook with the hand that you jab with, make sure that you jab first and then hook and then do variations that will confuse him, right? Also, here's another thing that I would like you to do, right? I want you to create a performance paralysis on your opponent. What exactly do I mean by that? Give him different looks. Give him different stances, different ways of blocking. Wave your hands around in ways that, like, you're either doing this or this, where you're trying to either go for a punch or you're trying to disguise it and go in for a block. Do variations where you have to make his eyes constantly move. And when you do that, what you will do is basically turn him into a very nervous fighter, a fighter that has to look out for multitudes of things. So yeah, be like that, right? Give him a lot to work with, all right? And not only in the offense, but also in the defense. And I hope that is the best advice that I can give you as a boxer. He says, what was it that you said about the ropes? Yeah, be aware of your back, right? When you're being pushed back, or if you're moving back, be aware of the ropes. Don't get stuck in the ropes unless, of course, you are planning a counter shot, right? A rope-a-dope, kind of like what Muhammad Ali does. But I would recommend to stay away from the ropes only because you want to create more options for yourself when you are jabbing at range. He says, hopefully I don't accidentally try to front kick him. Muay Thai is my base training. Thank you. I'm listening to all of this advice while I get ready to leave home. Wow, bro, this is awesome, man. You know what? This is exactly what I love about doing this live stream stuff, right? Obviously, we created a very beautiful community here of combat sports and mixed martial arts enthusiasts. And on top of that, we share each other's training. We share each other's training methods. You know, you guys have watched me train on live stream here multiple times. We break down fights, and then we hear about, like, for example, Mark Haney, one of our listeners here, obviously, you know, he's told me about his kid in high school wrestling varsity, and, you know, it brought a lot of good memories, right? Me and Marty talked about the memories that we had wrestling in high school, and it brought back a lot of good things. So this is very beautiful, right? As much as we have a lot of negativity, which, by the way, is just all part of the entertainment aspect of MMA streaming, we also cultivate a lot of positivity. We also cultivate a lot of intel gathering, intel sharing information of what we know and what advice we can give to each other. And even with you guys, when you guys see me train, where I'm hitting the bag or I'm doing, you know, X, Y, and Z, you guys are giving me advice. Hey, move your head more when you're shooting in, you know, try to use angles. And I listen to all of that as much as you guys listen to me. And I think that is what is beautiful about this whole MMA community that we built online. And I hope that we continue to grow it and also continue to take it to the top, because here's one thing that I'm going to guarantee. Okay, I'm going to get really vicious right now and be very honest with you guys. Okay, I need you guys to help me become the biggest MMA streamer, because I'm sure there's a lot of MMA streamers out there that you guys can't stand, that I'm sure you would love to see me put it on them, whether it's verbally, whether it's physically, or whether it's in the ring, or maybe in the streets where I might confront them. Let's say MMA Guru comes out to California. Isn't it funny that MMA Guru didn't come out to California in his American trip? First of all, how is it that you're going to come to America and you don't come to California? Right? You're a foreigner. You're an Englishman, right? You don't go to New York. You don't go to California. You just go to the South. Well, okay, I think he did go to California, or did he or did he not? Where did he do that wrestling with Armin? But anyways, let me read some of these past comments that I had missed. Okay, so you're at 154. Mr. Pink says, hello, I hope Jiri wins, but I have a feeling Khamzat will win. Yes, me exactly. Fresh Melody says, I have a Krav Maga fight after I finish my dinner. Who are you going to have your Krav Maga fight with, Fresh Melon Juice? Hamas? You know what I mean? But yeah, okay, so let's see here. Uzbek says, what do you think about Peter Yan versus Merab 3? Merab beats Yan again in their rematch. Are they really doing a third fight this time? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think Peter Yan has broke the code of Merab, right? I know Merab is a cardio freak, but sometimes fighting is a whole lot more than just cardio. It is all about technique, and boy, does Peter Yan have the technique and the skills to pay the bills when it comes to dealing with the ills of Merab. There it is, right? Little bars for you guys, right? The skills to pay the bills, to save the ills of Merab. There it is. Max Meaner says, my mate has a computer. Okay, are you talking about me? Of course I have a computer, man. Yeah, what a weird thing to say, but anyways. Brad says, hopefully I don't accidentally... Okay, yeah, I read that part. I wanted to hear from you because I know you've actually been in the ring. Yes. Okay, is there anything you wish you would have known or something you wish you could have told yourself before you got in the ring? You know what? In 2010, when I fought for this trophy right here, right? I told everybody in the locker room that I was going to unalive whoever was going to be in front of me, right? And I remember one of the sisters of the owners of the Muay Thai gym, right? She said to me, she's like, man, you're evil. You know, like, yeah, because I was just in the locker room screaming, I'm going to, unalive someone. I'm going to, KILL someone and this and that. You know, that's just how I am, bro. You know what I mean? Like how I'm built. I always tell myself that. Now, every fighter is different, right? Every fighter is different. Everyone is different in how they motivate themselves. Some guys are a little bit more calmer. Me, I'm a little bit more animated. I'm a little bit more, violent orientated because, to be honest with you, I've lived a very violent life. So that's all that I know. So when I'm going in the ring, I never really looked at it as like a sport, right? I looked at it as, you know what, I'm here for a mission. I'm here to slide on my ops. I'm here to destroy my ops. And I'm here to gain the victory. And everything that follows after that is just part of the sport, right? The pre-fight ambles, right? Doing interviews or speaking after the fight or celebrating after the fight. To me, that is the portion, that is the sport portion of this whole entire violent game. Whereas I look at this whole entire sport as basically a game of warfare, legalized warfare. So Fresh Melon Juice says, animated, you're a cartoon. Well, if you think about it, I am sort of like a cartoon villain, right? I mean, look at my life trajectory, right? I've had uncles that sold weapons to the IRA, okay, during the 1980s in Libya. Okay, on top of that, I've lived in different parts of, the United States. I've lived in the most violent parts of the United States, whether that was in the East Coast or in the West Coast. And then on top of that, I've had military experience. I've had experience in the Middle East. And then I've got all of these things going on with my life. So it's like, yeah, I mean, in a way, I am kind of a cartoon character, a real life James Bond villain to the max, baby. And that's kind of the way that I... like to present myself in this persona of YouTube streaming that we do. But on any regard, man, yeah, Brad, good luck to you on that. And, hopefully, hopefully we can, see a footage of it in some kind of way, or if there's any way that you could share a footage or send us a link the next time around you, you have your fight. But man, I'm honored that just right before your fight, you're actually watching me because... and again, this is why I say different fighters are different in how they go on about, their pre-fight preparation, right? There are some guys that don't want to listen to anything or don't want to hear anything. There are some guys that like to play a little Tupac. There's guys that like to play a little Pantera, a little Slipknot. And then there's guys that like to play Celine Dion when they're running around in Thailand like Tyson Fury. Did you guys see that video of Tyson Fury running around with a boombox or some sort of speaker blasting Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On as he's running down Thailand? And believe it or not, that's actually not that unusual in Thailand, right? Because the Thais, the Asians, the Filipinos, the Vietnamese, the Chinese, the one thing they love is they love karaoke. Asians love them some karaoke. So they see this 6'7" white man from England, okay, who's the size of Sagat, okay? like if you think about it, Tyson Fury looks like the real life, size of Sagat, right? You have this Sagat looking, white English bald guy running around, Thailand, blasting Celine Dion as he's doing his road work. It's crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen that footage. Let me see if I could pull that up with Tyson Fury doing his little runs here. Let me see here. I remember posting it on my social media, so for sure this is going to be here. So okay, here it is, right here. I don't know if I could play the song because. By the way, listen, have you guys noticed that there's a 7-Eleven in Thailand? Okay, now I've been to the Philippines. I never seen a 7-Eleven there. They have their own convenience stores with their own brand, but obviously they have 7-Eleven there. I wonder if the 7-Eleven in Thailand is also owned by India.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until.
I hope I don't get copyrighted for that, but man, Tyson Fury is a character, man. Man, you gotta love the Gypsy King. Come on, baby, Tyson Fury. But he's taking on my Muslim brother, Arslan. What's his name? Makhmudov. He's taking on my Muslim brother Makhmudov, and I don't know, man. I don't like the chances of Makhmudov in that one. He gets hit too easily, and on top of that, he doesn't move his head as much. Even Carl Froch said in the press conference, you know what? I'd like to see you move your head a little bit more, but for some reason, you're not doing that. Speaking of Carl Froch, what do you guys think about him boxing Tyson Fury's dad? They're kind of having a little bit of some beef going on right now, man. But Carl Froch, bro. It's hilarious when Carl Froch gets into beef, bro. Like, people underestimate how funny Carl Froch can be. But let me see if I can pull up a video of Carl Froch talking about John Fury, because it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. So, okay, here's Carl Froch previewing today's boxing fight. Obviously, today's boxing fight also has Lee Wood and Josh Warrington, so that's going to be an interesting one. Carl Froch, I hope John Fury F's you up. Derek Chisora, not holding back with Eddie Hearn. He said, okay, Carl Froch, I hope John Fury F's you up. Wow. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to that. But he says, I'm going to punch his effing head in, Carl Froch said to Homeboy here. Hold on a second here. Okay, let's play this video right here with Carl Froch and John Fury going at it. John Fury is a ball of energy too, right? You know what I mean? So this is going to be interesting.
Hey, Mario Lopez here, and if you're thinking about getting
Mario Lopez doing some, insurance commercial. Yeah, man, Mario Lopez, don't get it twisted. He's a Hollywood actor, AC Slater, but legit wrestler, trains in boxing, and yeah, man, an overall combat sports head like the rest of us. All right, let's hear what Carl Froch had to say about John Fury here.
Welcome to Froch on Fighting with me, Carl the Cobra Froch, former unified super middleweight world boxing champion and international.
Former unified super middleweight champion of the world. And then also, as Carl Froch, I'd like to remind you, that I've also headlined 80,000 people in Wembley Stadium, and I was the first to do it before Anthony Joshua, so you better recognize.
Boxing Hall of Famer.
And not only that, he's a boxing Hall of Famer as well. If you could see the belts behind me, I have the WBC, I have the WBO, the IBF, but I'll tell you what I don't have is the Zuffa belt. Now, what the F is a Zuffa belt? All right, let's hear what Carl Froch has to say here.
In this room for a while, but look at the belts, look at the accolades for world title belts. Anyway, let's not brag, not here to boast. I'm here because Big John Fury, the fighting man, is back at it again. He's come back again.
The fighting man, Tyson, John Fury. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like when John Fury calls himself the fighting man. I get it. We're all fighting men, right? If you get in the ring, you're a fighting man, right? Like, it's so obvious to say. That's like saying, yeah, that's like, okay, that's like Stipe saying, hey, I'm Stipe the firefighter. Right, says no firefighter ever in any fire department in the history of firefighting.
Again, I thought he was going away, but he's not. He's offered me to fight him at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the undercard of Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, and Arslanbek Makhmudov. Okay.
What? Hold on. I thought, you know what? I thought they were going to be in a separate card. But I think that kind of makes sense, right? You know, Tyson is out in Thailand training. Maybe John is out there with him as well. So they can kind of train together and get ready for the same card. But that's big, right? Carl Froch. And first of all, I would have never even imagined that Carl Froch would fight in an undercard or a co-main event for anybody, right? But I suppose if he's going to be in a co-main event for anybody, it would probably be for Tyson Fury, and in particular, him fighting Tyson Fury's dad. Now, look, a couple of years ago, it would seem so unthinkable that Carl Froch would go in there and fight John Fury, right? It's so beneath him. But the fact that he's a little bit older, you notice that he has a little bit of gray in his hair now, you know, it kind of makes sense now, right? You know, because a couple of years ago and even till now, Carl Froch is a consummate professional fighter. He still has that in him. He still packs, you know, a heavy punch. He is still, well, not a championship caliber fighter, but he has some kind of caliber that makes him dangerous based on his background of being a former championship caliber boxer. In other words, what I'm saying is that he can easily beat John Fury a couple of years ago, but what about now when he's a little bit older and he hasn't really been training as hard? I mean, Carl Froch looks like he's in great shape. Obviously, he's still lean. Still looks like he has some shape to him. Doesn't look like he has stopped running or anything like that. But what I will say is that he seems, you know, maybe a little bit slower now in terms of his training habits, right? So this sort of makes it a much even matchup. Victory says, expect everything to be moving faster than it does in sparring, Brad. There you go, right? That's very true. And Brad, also, I want you to keep in mind that you can also slow things down, right? I want you to also think that you can slow things down. How you do that? You create that distance. Or you clinch up when you need to. Obviously, that is a tactic that you can use in boxing. Know when to use the clinch, but also once you're in that clinch, learn how to rest in between that, get your heart rate down, and expect your heart rate to move right back up once the action picks up after that. All right, back to Carl Froch.
So let's do a quick recap in case you missed it. I was making my Netflix debut in the broadcast studio for Netflix at the pre-fight press conference for the announcement for Tyson Fury and Makhmudov. John Fury decided it'd be a good idea to go for me, have a go at me. I was actually talking to him from the top balcony. He was looking down at me. He addressed something about me taking the piss basically on my YouTube channel, telling him what he is and how he needs to behave and pipe down and stop headbutting kids at press conferences because it was out of order. And that was a long time ago and that all went away. But he started on me, he came for me. I said, listen, you know where I am? My producer's down there if you've got a problem with him. And then he came down and started shouting and screaming and swearing. You saw it all. I did a response video, did very good numbers. Thanks for watching. But yeah, he's since come back again. I thought he was going to go away and get quiet because I've heard...
He said it did great numbers. Okay, so let me explain to you why he's taking this fight, okay? So he basically saw in his YouTube analytics, okay, very similar to, you know, the analytics that I'm looking at right now of my own video or my own live stream that I'm doing with you guys right now. And he looked at the numbers and said, you know what, man, this makes this has a lot of good numbers behind it. You know what I mean? I may have to get in this ring with John Fury because it seems like a pretty lucrative deal, right? It seems like a lucrative deal to get in there and fight this guy. And you know what? Yeah, maybe I haven't been training the way that I used to. Maybe I haven't been really in the gym the way that I used to. But at the same time, man, I can still crack. And for sure, I can still get in there and crack John Fury out of all people, right? And it's not like John Fury had a very successful career when he was a boxer during the days. He even said that he didn't really take that seriously. Marcos Lomelli says Khabib. Well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. I take that as a compliment. I am the American English speaking voice for the Dagestanis, right? Because the articulation and the speech delivery that I bring in the English language, the Dagestanis cannot do, so I'm going to do it for them. I am the official spokesman for the Dagestani fighters, and if not, all of the Muslim fighters, so there you go, right? Thank you, Marcos. I really appreciate that. I'm assuming you're Italian. That's a very Italian name. Do you live in Italy, or are you just of Italian descent? And if so, let me know what part of the world you are from, whether that's from Italy or elsewhere. Okay, back to Carl Froch on this one.
Heard from good authority that Tyson Fury himself, the Gypsy King, he wasn't happy. He was furious at his old man's little rant and rave, but he's still going. He's his own man, I suppose, Big John Fury, the fighting man. Fights who he wants, doesn't he? When he wants on the...
The fighting man, John Fury, the fighting man. Yeah, you know what? Listen, Tyson is absolutely right about that, right? Like, it does kind of get a little bit embarrassing at times when John Fury, gets up out of his body and just does all of these antics in the name of what? In the name of basically embarrassing himself and his family. And sometimes some people love it, right? You've seen Tommy Fury when he was fighting KSI, man, he was loving the whole entire fiasco. Human Mate says, do you like the idea of Khamzat holding up 2 divisions fighting once every 2 years? Is he going to be the most inactive? He shouldn't be qualified to fight for a second belt. Deserving in the world of MMA is subjective, okay? Let me explain something to you. What is more important in MMA? I'm not talking about, okay, let's get our fan hat out of this conversation, right? Let's put on our promoter hat. Let's put on our UFC owner hat, okay? So that means our mindset is the bottom dollar, okay? Not necessarily what is the best or competitive architecture or meritocracy. Let's put on our owner's hat, right? Is it marketable for Khamzat Chimaev to be a double champion? The answer is yes. Was it marketable for Conor McGregor to be a double champion? Absolutely. That is the reason why they bypassed Khabib Nurmagomedov. But in the end, guess what? It sorted itself out. Because by the end of it all, Khabib became the greatest 155 champion, at least within his era when he was fighting, right? And obviously all of that is subjective. That's for your own take. For me, I happen to think he's the best 155er of all time, irregardless of just 3 title defenses that he has. He's fought a lot of top lightweights, okay? A lot of them were not championship fights, but damn near they should have been championship fights. Early on, he should have fought Anthony Pettis way back in 2012. That never happened. That never materialized. He was supposed to fight Benson. No, not Benson Henderson, because obviously Benson got submitted by Anthony Pettis, and then Anthony Pettis basically ran with that after the fact. So Fresh Millings, you said they are not allowed to fight in 2 divisions anymore. That's the answer. Are you saying that that is what you would do as the owner, or are you saying that that is the official statement of the UFC? Because what will happen is that obviously they're going to vacate that belt. If they vacate that belt, here's what I'm concerned of. Who are you going to put at 185? Think about that. Sean Strickland, if he wins today, right, for his matchup against Fluffy, what are you going to do? Put him in there against Dricus du Plessis again? Maybe. Or what if the best case scenario is Anthony Fluffy Hernandez winning today? Okay, because here's the thing. Paramount is not happy with Sean Strickland and what he said at his media scrum. I mean, the guy was... look, here's the thing, right? I don't mind Sean Strickland. I don't mind anything that he said in the media press conference of this fight week. A couple of things that people found very offensive. He said things about women. He said things about black people, which wasn't really that bad. He said Every time I see a black guy in the gym, I assume that he's a boxer or something like that. That is in reference to that comedian who said that he ended up sparring Sean Strickland, right? So, yeah, it's not that's not the worst, thing to say, right? That's like saying, hey, you know what? Whenever I see a white guy in an ice skating rink, I assume that he's a hockey player. I mean, why would you not assume that when one of the basic lessons that you need to learn as as a hockey player is learning how to skate on ice? Oh wow, he knows how to move around the ice. He must be a hockey player. I mean, what's wrong with that? Now, the guy that he sparred with, the black guy that he's mentioning, right, was obviously a comedian, but he assumed that he was a boxer. But that's because, let's be honest, right? Most black dudes just look like they're in shape, even if they're not athletes. You know what I mean? Let's just be real about that, okay? That's the reality of it. Billy says, how can I get started on training to fight like UFC? Man, first of all, I think from what I'm gathering, just based on your question alone, maybe you're a casual. Maybe you don't watch MMA as much, so let me educate you just a little bit, right? I'm glad that you asked me and not some other MMA content creator that would just absolutely rip you to shreds for saying, how can I fight like UFC? So let me explain this. UFC is the organization, MMA is the sport. It's kind of like saying Premier League is the league, but soccer is a sport. You understand what I'm saying? Football, American football is the sport, and NFL is the league, right? So nobody says, oh, I want to play NFL, right? Or maybe you do if, let's say, you have a certain language barrier where, you're just describing things that have nothing to do with the actual literal meaning of what activity you're talking about, right? And I often hear, a lot of people with broken English do that, right? But that is why I am the race whisperer, because I understand and know these things and can interpret these things. He says, oh, gee, thanks. I had no clue. I'm just tired of getting bullied. You know what? That's interesting. Here's some inspiration for you, Billy. The majority of people that get into MMA have been bullied. The majority of people that got into boxing or whatever combat sports, a lot of them were bullied, right? So they decided, you know what, I want to fight back and I want to learn this. And, I think you're already on your way. I just think you need to find the proper gym. Here's the thing, right? A proper fight gym. More than just a proper fight gym, you have to interview the trainer, okay? You have to interview the trainer like it's a job interview for them, because remember, you are the one that's paying them. So in reality, the trainers are your employee. And I know that it doesn't seem like that when they are telling you to do push-ups or when they're talking to you like a drill sergeant or a drill instructor while they're training you. But, understand your trainer is your employee and you have to treat it like you are the CEO trying to hire the best guy possible, but not only the best guy possible, the best guy that you can vibe with in terms of what you can get out of him in terms of, good vibes. Within those good vibes, are you going to be able to learn from him, much easier? Are you going to be able to, let's say, cultivate the kind of relationship where he wants to vehemently help you, and what time process he's willing to put on for you to get better? So these are things that you have to take into consideration when you look for a gym to train with. You got to get along with the guys. That's just the bottom line. Or you got to love the culture that they're in. A gym that I trained at out here in Sacramento, Team Alpha Male, I love the culture that they got going on because it was everything that stood for my personality. The minute you walk into Team Alpha Male, everybody in there walks like they are God's gift on earth. And boy, do I need that type of environment, because to be honest with you, not to sound cocky or arrogant or anything, a part of me feels that way. And if you're a fighter, if you're a combat athlete, or if you're an alpha male, okay, all pun intended for that particular name, you want to be around guys like that. So I love being around guys that I could, hey, you know what? You love to walk like you are, the S-H-I-T. I'm going to prove otherwise. I love that. I love proving guys wrong. I love the competitive spirit. Some guys don't like that. Some guys would rather be at, you know, some guys would rather be at a situation where, you know what, everybody is in good vibes, everybody has participation trophies. I mean, obviously, I'm being, you know, fictitious by saying that, and you know, being, you know, exaggerating for the sake of entertainment. But yeah, you know, so that's that, right? You know, you have to understand the type of environment that you are in, right? What type of environment you wish to be in, and what will give you the best possibility of the best possibility of creating a higher learning curve. Jameson says you train at Team Alpha Male. Yes, let me show you a picture of me and Uriah Faber in his UFC debut. Okay, we got to turn off this Tyson Fury video with him running to a Celine Dion song. Let me show you a picture of me and Uriah Faber here. Let's see, where is my picture with Uriah here? Where is that guy? Here we go, right here. Yeah, so that's me and Uriah Faber back in 2011. Right? So yeah, that's the younger version of me in 2011 with, yeah, so there it is, man. You know, the legend. And you know what? Listen, what do you think? You know, me and Uriah, you know, barely aged, right? We look the same, and that was in 2011. You know what I mean? What do you think? We aged pretty good or what? You know, does that still look like the same Uriah, and does that still look like the same Kyrie Abu El-Kheer as, you know, as before? What do you guys think? Right, we look young for our age. You know what I mean? Maybe the hairline is a little bit different, but you know, yeah. I mean, you know, great. And then look, I had the Brock Lesnar Death Clutch shorts. Remember that? Right, those were Brock Lesnar's shorts right there. You know, I was like the biggest Brock Lesnar fan back in the days because, you know, I was really huge into professional wrestling, and yeah, man. He says, you two age like me, we are blessed. There you go, man. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah to that, man. Beautiful. He says that's why we can fight. There you go, man. Jameson, what part of the world are you from, brother? You know, obviously, Jameson, that sounds like an Irish name. Obviously, you know, from the, not that I'm a liquor drinker or anything like that. Obviously, as a Muslim, I don't drink. But yeah, Jameson is the famous whiskey brand in Ireland, to which Conor McGregor was trying to compete for. And then, you know, what happened? You know, he got sued by Artem Lobov. I don't know what happened with that, if they ever, you know, came to a settlement. I heard that him and Artem Lobov made peace with each other, but I never really seen, you know, any public, you know, any public display of that. But we'll see. Okay, let's get back to Carl Froch and his upcoming fight with John Fury. Apparently, that's going to be in the undercard of Tyson Fury and Makhmudov. He says, Jameson is my name. Jameson is my name, but I put the Jameson from Spider-Man as a joke. Okay, Dallas, Texas, baby. All right, man. There you go, man. There's another MMA haven in that part of, you know, yeah, that's another MMA haven in the United States. Obviously, California, Texas, what else? New York, Florida. Those are all the top MMA fighting gyms in the United States. So Saif Al Saud was, you know, his gym. I believe is it in Dallas or Houston? But yeah. Yeah, it says another fellow warrior brother. That's right, man. That's right. What gym do you train at in Dallas, or do you train in multiple gyms or this and that? He says, you're ignoring my comments because Jameson is spamming. No, I'm not. I just wanted to address him, you know, first, and then here I am. I got to you. So, Human Maid says, Kai, you're calling me, you know me in real life, don't you? Do you know me in real life? You're calling me by, nobody calls me that unless you know me in real life. Who are you, Human Maid? Let me know where you are from, if you know me in person. You know what? Sometimes I wonder if some people in here, like, are people that I know in my real life, or maybe they just come in here to troll me, to, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess, but whatever. Aaron says, this is why this fight is why is this fight happening? Can't Khamzat make 185 anymore? Well, look, Arion, I think that Khamzat Chimaev wants to reach for greatness, right? Conor McGregor set a different standard in this particular era of MMA. Back in the days, people were comfortable staying in their weight class, fighting in their divisions, racking up title defenses after title defenses. George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, who else was defending their titles multiple times during that? Benson Henderson, I believe, defended. Who had the most title defenses in 155? Let me see. Okay, UFC most title defenses in 155. Who is that? So most title defenses in 155. Okay, so it's all tied at 3. How about that, right? Okay, so it is all tied at 3. Yes, John Jones as well. Yes, John Jones is also in that list, but just within the 155 division, these are the people that defended their belt 3 times. So when you're talking about Khabib, look, honestly, Khabib had the longest reign, right? Everybody is tied at 3 title defenses. BJ Penn had 3. Frankie Edgar had 3. Benson Henderson had 3. And arguably, those are the best 155ers ever. He says it's Jones, not in 155. I know Jones is not at 155, just talking about 155 in general. He says, I'm looking to build a cage. I don't fight anymore, but I have my own gym set up in a ring. Okay, very good, very good. Arnold says, any good fights tonight? Oh, my God. Listen, Arnell, there's plenty of good fights tonight, okay? Plenty of good fights. You know what? Let's run through them, okay? Tonight, we have UFC Houston, okay? We have Sean Strickland versus Fluffy Hernandez. By the way, a guy that I shared a card with back in 2012, right? Which is why I have this poster up here, my one and only MMA fight. And Human Made says, my top 10, John Jones, Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor, GSP, Mighty Mouse. By the way, I forgot about mentioning Mighty Mouse in that list of people with long title defenses. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. Jiri Prochazka and Charles Oliveira. He says, plenty of fights, I'm excited. CT, what did CT here say? Hold on a second here. George Drode. What is George Drode? Who is that? Who do you have between Fluffy and Sean? I'm going to Fluffy on that one by wrestling. He says, yeah, walk us through the fights tonight, brother. So, okay, this is what we have, right? You got Sean Strickland and Anthony Hernandez tonight, right? Now, on the boxing side of things, let's take a look at the boxing side of things, right? You have Lee Wood versus Warrington, okay, fighting for the second time. And by the way, while they were weighing in yesterday, right? While these two were weighing in yesterday, by the way, this is a big matchroom card. Eddie Hearn finds out that Conor Benn signed with Dana White. And they deliberately did that knowing that there's a UFC fight tomorrow, which is today, and there's a boxing match for Eddie Hearn's matchroom today as well. They deliberately did it to spite Eddie Hearn. It's insane, right? Also, another boxing card that's happening tonight, you have Barrios taking on Garcia. Okay, Barrios versus Garcia. That's happening tonight as well, right? Obviously, Barrios had a draw against Manny Pacquiao. Now here he is taking on Ryan Garcia, I believe, at 147. So this is a 147 title fight, WBC Welterweight World Championship. This is going to be on DAZN. So DAZN has 2 boxing fights, and then one MMA event, which is a UFC. Jameson said, Sean needs to step on the gas and let his hands go like he does at least at the last 5 seconds. You know what? The thing is, yeah, you're right. He does kind of play it safe, right? It's sort of a habit that he has, really developed. He doesn't really, step out of his body or step out of his comfort zone. He just, fights in that pace for, the comfortability that he's looking for. So, yeah, I believe Clarissa Shields is also fighting for the women's heavyweight title as well, right? So, yeah, oh no, tomorrow. That's tomorrow. So it's a Sunday card, right? So today she weighs in, and then tomorrow she fights. So yeah, Clarissa Shields is also fighting this weekend as well. So okay, Saturday and Sunday. So and look, her husband Papoose, right? The famous underground, well, he was an underground rapper, man. I remember back in the days, Papoose would come up with some of the sickest rhymes ever, right? So, yeah, Sean's fights like he's sparring and spars like he's fighting. You know why? I'm going to tell you why, Victory, okay? Because that is literally all that Sean Strickland does, okay? He doesn't do any conditions, doesn't lift weights. He just goes and he spars and spars and spars, and great that it prepares him for the fight. It makes him comfortable in the fight, but it is also indicative of why his style looks like the way that it does. All right, let's get back to Carl Froch on his journey to fight the father of Tyson Fury, John Fury, the fighting man, John Fury.
Hard road. But he's gone on his social media now calling me out. He wants to fight me on the undercard of Tyson Fury, Makhmudov, and it's getting silly now, but it needs addressing. So he's done a couple of videos since my response video to his shenanigans at the weigh-in. His first video since then, he was walking down the street or jogging down the street, looking like Emperor Palpatine, Darth Insidious from Star Wars. He was pale-faced, all wrinkled, foaming at the mouth as well. He was losing the...
He said, John Fury looks like a Star Wars character. Yo, you're wild for that, Carl. Oh, man.
Well, calling out me and Joe Egan. He said myself and Joe Egan can both tag team him. You know, he'll do a double or whatever. I can't remember how he phrased it. Basically, he'll take us both on.
He said that he's going to fight you guys at a handicap match. The term, Carl Froch, is the handicap match. He wants to fight you guys at a handicap match, and that's what he's saying.
Quite threatening, actually, and quite... You know, if I was a bit of a snowflake, then I'd have been upset. I'd have been offended by it, because he was threatening, he was calling it on, and he was saying basically, watch your back, you don't want to go back to prison. So he needs to be careful, doesn't he? I mean, he's talking about going back to prison. So he's putting loose threats out there for me and Joe Egan. But let's be honest, I mean, he don't even want to fight Joe Egan, does he? Let's be honest. He's got no intention of fighting anybody. But that was his first video of him almost losing the plot. And I thought Tyson might get hold of that and say, look, Dad, pipe down now, just leave it, and that'll be the end of it. But he's carried on. And this morning he released another video. There was three main things that pointed out in that video. The first one, which needed to happen, was an apology to Steve Bunce, good friend of mine. And actually, Steve's all right with John Fury. He apologised to Steve Bunce because he went for him. He put his head in his face and he said, I'll put you in the nose and give it all that. And Steve was like, I'm your friend, John. He's like, you're no friend of mine. And then he walked off. But that was out of order on Steve Bunce.
Yes, and why would you go after Steve Bunce? For those of you that don't know, Steve Bunce is the boxing commentator for Box Nation, right? If you guys watch like UK or British TV, he's usually the guy that does all the the boxing shows, or he's basically a boxing anchor man. So
he's been going through a few personal hardships of late, which I won't go into, but it's not on. Steve Bunce is an old boxing historian. He's a journalist who's been around for many years. Anybody in the boxing world knows Steve Bunce. They know how good he is. They know what a good guy he is. And to go for him when he's just stood there minding his own business, he's the only one that didn't have his phone out filming. And Big John went for him. It's like a bullet.
John, yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with John. I don't know if he's doing this out of entertainment or if he's really serious that he wants to go at these people, or maybe a part of him feels like he's unresolved, right? Because, look, you have to understand, he had a very unresolved career. And to be honest with you, John Fury is a bit of a narcissist, right? So maybe a part of him, yeah, he's proud that his son is the heavyweight champion of the world, or the former heavyweight champion of the world. And he also has another son who happens to be a very popular boxer. Be that as it may, he may not be a world-level boxer, but he is a popular boxer. And as a result of that, I think that, a part of him feels like he needs to overcompensate, right? He has two sons that are highly accomplished, right? There's also other Furies that are also doing good. Roman Fury. There's also Huey Fury that has, put himself in, in certain positions in a heavyweight division as well, right? Some exciting fights. But, yeah, man, I just think that, I just think John Fury is, I think it's all performative, in my opinion. Billy says, any advice on how not to be scared to fight or get hit? Billy, that's a very good question, right? I'll answer this for you, right? Being scared is something that is a portion of fight week or fight day that you have to come to grips with. The best way to deal with an advice like that, what I would say, is make sure that you know how to control that fear. Breathe. Trust your technique. Let your technique do the work, right? But also understand the matchups that you're taking. Sometimes maybe you need to take easier matchups to kind of get you, kind of get your feet wet until you start taking harder fights. But once you set up for the fight and you know that it's a good stylistic matchup for you, there's a reason why you took that fight, because you know that there's a chance that you could win. Concentrate on the techniques that you know are going to bring you to that win.
He's a proper bully boy. He deserved an apology, and he apologised. So fair enough that he's apologised, but he's still a Second thing, he talks about, I'm a Tyson Fury hater. Never been a Tyson Fury hater. All I've done is pointed out the facts. The fact that he got beat twice by Alexander Usyk. First one, he could have been stopped, saved by the referee. So he was lucky to hear the final bell. Second one, in my opinion, he got beat fair and square. Some of the boxing analysts might have had it close, they might have had Tyson Fury winning, but the facts are he got beat. And
So for him to go at Carl Froch, by the way, John Fury has a history of going at Carl Froch, Carl Frampton, right? He went at Carl Frampton for saying that he thought that he thought Jake Paul was going to beat Tommy Fury. That is not an unreasonable statement to make. It really isn't. It's not an unusual statement to make. Let me answer this question that I didn't get to. Arnell says, what do you think of Shakur Stevenson? Man, I think he is the best 135er in the world right now. I think he's going to retire undefeated.
95% of people who watch that fight know that he got beat. So there's no hate in me. I'm actually quite fond of Tyson Fury. I want him to do well, and I want him to retire a happy man, which I spoke about on numerous occasions. Once he came through the pro ranks together, Tyson Fury, if you don't know, he made his professional debut, was promoted by the same promoter at the time, and he made his pro debut on the undercard of my first world title fight against Jean Pascal here in Nottingham. And the third thing he talked about was me. Why are Netflix using me on their broadcast? Why are they using Carl Froch? What, the Cobra, the four-time world champ, Hall of Famer? Why are they using me? Because I'm a good pundit, that's why. Because I tell it how it is, I shoot from the hip, and I'm honest. And people like to listen to me. This is the reason I've got the biggest channel in the business.
And also, you got a pretty interesting accent, you know what I mean? That also helps, you know what I mean? Having a British accent, right? British guys, when they talk, it's like, you know what? You make sense. You know, well, you know what? You know, if you did it this way rather than doing it that way, you know what I mean? It would make a lot of sense if you went in this direction rather than going in the other direction. You know what? You're right, man. You are absolutely right. I think I may have to take your advice on that, man. You know, and your voice sounds awesome, bro. So there it is. He says, you in the chat inspired me. Well, thank you for that, Billy. I'm glad that we were able to inspire you, and thank you for those kind words. And yeah, I hope that you follow that advice. I hope that you do maintain training, or at least create and form a habit of training. And as a result, hopefully it gives you the confidence that you need to not only stand up to bullies, but also to stand up for whatever it is that you need to do in life, and to also use that as a vehicle to help you, propel you in whatever it is that you try to accomplish on a daily basis, inshallah.
So he's talking nonsense, and he'd like to play the Cobra down, but he can't, because I've got the backing, I've got the credentials. You know what I'm saying? He can't rubbish the Cobra and say that I don't deserve to be where I'm at. And Netflix want to use me, and all he wanted to do was kill it for me. He wanted to ruin it. And that's the reason he got ignored. Big Leonard said ignore him. So I took his advice, I bit my tongue, I wanted to say so much when he was ranting and raving, but we was like, you know, anyway, if you see my last video that's gone pretty viral, I had 15 seconds still on air, and when we went on air, I kept it professional. I addressed the big idiot, John Fury, and then we got on with our job. So we've got a job to do there in the studio at the broadcasting. So that's what we did. And Big John was ranting and raving, making a mug of himself, and he can't leave it alone. And he also, on that same video, mentioned that he doesn't want to fight me, because don't forget, in my response video to his shenanigans, his ridiculous, childish behaviour, shouting and screaming, attention-seeking, like a big pillock at the press conference, he mentioned he'll fight any man born from his mother, he'll take anyone on, because he's the ultimate man. The ultimate meatball. So he's addressed that now and said, because I said I'll fight you on misfits. If you really want to fight, if I really have to do it, I'll hit you with a couple of body shots, a couple of jabs, and I'll help you up when I've dropped you, and it'll be embarrassing the same way you're embarrassing. So if you've not seen the video, that's basically what I said. So he's addressed that and said he's not going to give anybody a payday who he doesn't like. It feels like he's the big star and the big draw, like anybody gives a shit at him. You know what I mean? It's just a big fat mess. Nobody making noise. Nobody's really interested, but we have to respond, because
I got to be honest with you, right? I kind of agree with Carl Froch on that. John Fury is one of these dads that lives off of their son's glory. I'm sure you guys have seen that in MMA. You guys have seen that in boxing. Oh, there's a lot of that in boxing, right? You know, a lot of like fathers who've never fought but somehow try to live off of their son's success, right? You see a lot of that in boxing. John Fury is no exception to that reality, unfortunately.
The noise he makes gets attention because Tyson Fury is such a big name and he's making a comeback.
That's true.
So anyway, he said he don't want to fight anybody he doesn't like because he don't want to give him a payday. So he don't want to give me a payday. Called me an internet troll. Internet troll? I mean, there's a few world titles up there. There's a British title up there. There's, I suppose, the internet troll. You could pull in my subscriber plaque from YouTube. You could call me an internet troll there, but I'm quite a successful YouTuber as well. But don't want to give me a payday. Don't want to give Big Joe Egan a payday. Joe Egan is round about the same age as him. So that'd be a fair fight. And he's called him on, and he don't want any of it. Joe Egan's done a couple of videos saying, look.
You know what this reminds me of, right? Do you guys remember Daniel Hamid, right? He sometimes pops up in here in the chat. We're a little bit friendly nowadays. You know, but me and him kind of got into a spat. He's one of Zayn Musa Boxing Dosage's ops in the UK. And naturally, you know, he was going to be my op because, you know, Zayn Musa Boxing is the homie, right? So, you know, you got to have the homies back. You know, he tried to challenge me to a fight, but then he says, you have to fly me to the United States, okay? Like, he tried to make it seem like he was this, you know, big A-side guy. And quite frankly, listen, he's done a few, you know, white-collar boxing fights. You know, he does have quite a following behind him. He does have people come and watch his fights, you know, for whatever that's worth. But, yeah, man, whenever somebody doesn't want to fight you, they always use this, well, you're not big enough, you're not worthy, you know, I'm not worthy to fight you, you know, you're a peasant, I'm a king, or this and that, you know, like, especially that's what really grinds my gears right there, when they start having, like, this, you know, king mentality, or I'm a king, shut your ass up, I'm a king. Anyways, he says, I hope your channel grows. You deserve it. Thank you so much, Billy. And you know what? You deserve the best as well. And I hope that you create something positive in your martial arts journey that we inspired you today to do. So, inshallah.
Not out fighting. He's done a few moves on the back as well, and has a couple of body shots. Big John Fury, the fighting man, hasn't got any fight in him. So he's just saying, I don't want to fight anybody. I'm not giving anybody a payday. But it wasn't long after that, and if it was an hour or 2 hours, another video arrived in my inbox saying, Froch, I'll fight you. I'll fight you on the undercard, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, on the undercard of Tyson Makhmudov. And I'm thinking to myself, is this guy actually being serious? He's telling Netflix to get in touch. So, I mean, listen, I'm not going to turn it down. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to fight it, because John Fury is a big bully, and big bullies need putting into place. And if I'm the man that has to do it, I will do it. I don't want to beat an old man up. I don't want to start on a 60-year-old man. But when I look back, when I beat George Groves up in front of 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium, rendering him unconscious.
Oh, he loves that. He loves to remind you of that. Let's replay that again for Carl Froch, because I'm sure if he's watching this right now, I'm sure he would love to hear this again, right? You know, this is what he loves to hear right here, right here.
When I beat George Groves up in front of 80,000 fans at the stadium, rendering him unconscious. He was 11 years younger than me. I'm only 10 years younger than Big John Fury. I know he doesn't look wild, does he? He looks a bit older. I don't want to give him any stick, but he's 10 years older than me, 60-year-old man. I'm pressing on for 50. So, is it a fair fight? I think we both know it isn't. But he's called it on at Tottenham Hotspurs on the undercard. So anyway, let's have a quick look at the video.
Eve Online is a
Right, this is a message you've all been waiting for. Carl the Worm Froch. You've got yourself a fight.
Worm. He eats worms for breakfast, doesn't he?
Me and you, Tottenham, undercard, 8 weeks' time, you'll get that, 'cause I know you're a shithouse. I know you're not a man.
Yours a shithouse. Yours a bloody shithouse. Yours a shithouse, Carl Froch. I'm the fighting man, John Fury. I am the fighting man. Do you understand, Carl Froch? Yours a shithouse. Yours a dosser. And I'm just gonna say random things and make sure that it's true. I'm gonna say it because it's true. Yeah, John Fury, the fighting man.
A 3-time Hall of Fame, you might be all at 12 stone, mate. You know nothing at heavyweight, mate.
12 stone.
I'd laugh at you when you say. But listen, we've talked too much. I'm not going to make a long video. Get Netflix to contact me. Let's talk about this. It's about this. You know that, and I know that. And you've got yourself a fight, mate. You can fight the father of the best heavyweight in the world, the Gypsy King's father. And
I don't like. Look, I'm going to tell you why. Look. Okay, I don't mind the fight. I don't mind the fight with Carl Froch and John Fury, right? But why do you want to do it on Tyson Fury's card, right? Don't you think that that is sort of taking attention away from Tyson Fury? And this is sort of the thing that I really hate is when parents try to outshine their kid. Do you realize that people are going to be way more interested in a Carl Froch fight than John Fury fight than they are with Tyson Fury and Makhmudov. That is going to be way more compelling to watch than Makhmudov. Now, look, I like Makhmudov, right? A Muslim brother, Chechnyan guy, and a great opportunity for him. But at the same time, we know this is the Tyson Fury Gypsy King show. Okay, we know that this is a stylistic matchup that is perfect for him to get back in there and hit somebody that, doesn't move his head, doesn't really move around, doesn't really do much when it comes to his defense, right? Very defensively deficient, right? We kind of know, or I think we know what's going to happen with that fight. This fight right here, it's compelling. We kind of know that Carl Froch is going to lay him out. But still, the beef that they have going on, it's compelling enough to say, wow, you know what? Maybe we need to pay attention more to this, which in turn does what? It takes away from the attention of his son. That's just really what it is. And you've seen a lot of dads like that, right? You've seen a lot of moms like that. They try to take their attention away from their kids and basically shift it towards their direction. I mean, it's...
And I'll tell you now, I will not disgrace my son by letting a fucking bum like you even come close to beating me. You've got yourself a fight, Mr. Froch. 8 weeks, Tottenham. I don't need 6 months training. I'm ready to go now, my pal.
I'll tell you what, watching that idiot there, watching his stupid face growling and snarling, calling me a bum, calling me a worm, it's so disrespectful. It actually gets me a little bit angry. I'm laughing at it inside, but I'm also the fighting man in me. The fighting man, John Fury. Yeah. Makes me want to respond with, if he was in the room now, stood in front of me, I would punch his head in. I really would, because he's such a big loudmouth gobshite who's done all, living off his son's name. It actually winds me up when I think about when he started on Carl Frampton, a good friend of mine, top pundit analyst, ex-world champion.
That's right. I remember I told you guys about this. I was mentioning this earlier.
started on the smallest man in the room at the Usyk press conference, headbutted him. He had to go to Steve Bunce last week. He constantly does it. And then he stuck it on me. But you know what? I feel like I might be the chosen one. I feel like it might be my job to finally shut this big gob up. All he does is run around, running his mouth, beating his chest. The ultimate man and all that bollocks. So, John, for one final time, listen to me so it goes into that thick skull. I accept your challenge. But know one thing. When that first bell goes, I'm going to come over to your corner and absolutely stick it on you, Cobra style, and set about you and make a mess of you. You know why? Because you're a bully and you need putting in your place. You're a bully and you're making a mockery of this sport, professional boxing. So that's it for another episode of Frotch on Fighting. That's enough of Big John Fury, the fighting man. They called me
The fighting man, John Fury.
Way out of this one. You know he's got no intention of jumping in with the Cobra because it will be all over for him. Deep breath. I've done a good interview with Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. They're fighting this Saturday. Really looking forward to that one. I've interviewed them both. We had a good chat. That's on one clip. And I'm going to be at the fight this weekend, sat ringside. And I'll be doing a post-fight reaction for that. A proper boxing match. The rematch. The first fight was great. Lee Wood did the job, but he was under the cosh for the whole fight. And he spun it around towards the end of the fight and got the win. And Josh Warrington's a bit pissed off. Lee Wood's confident. Catch up on the video, you'll see it. I've just interviewed both these guys. But I'm going to be ringside. We're going to be doing a post-fight reaction. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss that. If you haven't already.
All right, so
You were sexually
there it is. He's hella sad. Who is hella sad? Are you talking about John Fury or okay, you're talking about Eddie Hearn. All right, so let's transition this into the Eddie Hearn story, right? Obviously, I did a video of it last night. I did a live stream on it, live reaction on it. I urge you guys to check it out. We'll do a follow-up on this one right now, right? So far, what I understand is that Conor Benn is being paid $15 million for one fight. One fight only, they're paying him $15 million. Now, look, Eddie Hearn is a successful promoter. They have a successful brand, but they don't have the power that the UFC or the Saudis or the TKO or the WWE, which is all one company, have, right? They don't have that kind of power to give him that kind of money. But what Eddie Hearn offered Conor Benn was loyalty. What he offered him was a chance to be with a company that is like family orientated. Okay, you're not going to get that in the UFC. Savachi Financial says you're the new Cougs now. LOL, Zuffa, Cougs. Listen, I am nothing like Coogan, right? Coogan, he doesn't get in front of the camera ever, right? He doesn't get in front of the camera. He's a bit shy. The only reason why Coogan has a channel was because he was attached with Ricky Hatton during Ricky Hatton's prime, and obviously that catapulted him into the IFL network, and he doesn't really talk. He doesn't really have long format type of conversations or anything like that. He is an interviewer. And to be honest with you, he's not even a good interviewer. He's just a guy that sticks a microphone at people's face and hides behind the scenes, and that's really all there is to it. He's not a very talented individual when it comes to, boxing or MMA content or combat sports content, right? But for whatever reason, he's built a lot of rapport in the world of boxing, and that is the reason why he is able to, get these interviews. Remember, Eddie Hearn flat out said in that interview, you know what, I'm going to give you, this interview. I'm going to give it to you first because I don't want to have, a corporate style type of interview. Well, guess what, Eddie Hearn? Guess what kind of interviews Coogan does? It is nothing but cookie cutter, corporate style, safe, normie type of questioning that he has. Savachi says, fight him then. I would love to, man. I would love to, but, I don't think Coogan, I would hope, man. I would hope that he accepts it, which is why I tell you guys, everybody that's tapped in right now, this is why you guys got to help me, catapult my channel. Because I promise you, you put me in a platform with these people, it's going to look like 50 Cent going at everybody, okay? all my homies that know me in the streets, that know me in real life, they know that I can be a real firecracker when it comes to beef, right? And we're talking about normal people, okay? Normal street guys, guys that are just, you know, randoms on the internet, guys that are random in the street that I've beefed with. Now imagine you put me in there against Coogan. I get in Coogan's face. We get into a fight. We get into a scuffle. I start calling him all types of names. I get at his face. He says, what if Cougs can fight though? That's fine. I could absolutely fight myself. Like him knowing how to fight is irrelevant to the reality of what I'm going to do to him. Number one, Coogan does not have the athletic ability that I have. Number two, Coogan does not have the speed that I have. Number three, Coogan is probably a little bit older than me, right? And at 40 years old, I'm in way better shape than most younger guys. I'm way more athletic than most younger guys. I put up numbers in the gym more than most other guys. I train harder than most other guys who are younger than me. And Coogan is older than me, and he never really had any extensive combat sports experience ever. So everything would be on my side. Plus, you know, obviously I'm a little bit smaller than Coogan, but I've sparred guys that are Coogan's size, if not taller. So MJ says, hey bro, how are you? Okay, got it. Okay, how are you? Doing great, man. Shout out to you. He says, my numbers are way higher. What do you mean by your numbers are way higher? I guarantee you can't jump higher than me. Fresh melon juice, you can't put up more weight than me. I guarantee you can't swim longer than me. If we tested each other's lung capacity level, I'm sure my VO2 max would be higher than yours. My what else? My resting heart rate is probably lower than yours. So he says, oh man, this guy's still here. Yeah, you remember him, you know, Fresh Melon Juice. He's one of my biggest fans, you know what I mean? So shout outs to him. Savachi says, Cougs might be a sleeper. I highly doubt it, man. You know what? I'm going to show you Coogan right now, okay? I'm going to show you who Savachi Financial is talking about. Okay, if you guys thought Daniel Hamid, was an absolute shithouse, this guy is right up there as well. So, Coogan IFL, where is a picture of this fool right here? Oh, here it is, right here. Here's him and Conor McGregor. Okay, so there it is, right? Yeah. Yeah, we would be a good fight. I mean, you know, Conor is like 5'10", I'm like 6 feet. Coogan is probably like 6'2" or 6'3". You know, and he's an absolute shithouse of a ting. He's an absolute shithouse, Cougs. Coogan. Look at Coogan, bloody Coogan. Oh man, look at that watch right there. Look at that watch, man. I'd love to roll up on Coogan Cassius and snatch that from him. He says, what is your resting heart rate? 29. That's pretty low, right? That's considered an elite level athlete. Okay, 29 is pretty high. And you know what? I actually have. Hold on, let me see. I have a picture of that specifically. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see here. I remember taking a picture of it somewhere. Let me see if I can, find it here. Where is that thing? But anyways, yeah, that's sick. Yeah, man. I just got to go find it, though, man. Where is that thing? Anyways, Doug Goof is here, says, Dan, you're 6. I assumed you are short and stocky. No, man. You know, look, bro. Look, let me stand up for you guys right now, okay? I'm not really that stocky, okay? You know what I'm saying? I got kind of like a lean build to me, so... You know what I'm saying? So, that reach right there. Bah. Anyways, yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm not that stocky. I look stocky because, I sit down and I do have, a certain amount of muscle mass on me. But, yeah, other than that, look at this, guys. Look at this, man. Coogan ain't doing none of this. Oops. Look at this, man. 100-pound one-arm snatches. Coogan ain't doing none of that. You know, Coogan ain't doing none of that. Look at this. Where's the other one? Right here. Look at this. Look at that. Can Coogan do that? Can Coogan do that? Coogan can't do none of this. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, Coogan ain't doing none of that. He ain't doing none of that. Where is that picture where I took of you know, my resting heart rate? Hold on a second here. Oh yeah, and then here's me you know, climbing a rope in Santa Monica right here. Okay, that needs to go down. He says, don't mind the picture, bro. Like, what do you mean, don't mind the picture? What do you mean by that? Anyways, let's see what else. No, because I really want to show you that I have that. I just got to find where that is and where I had put it. Dang, okay, I didn't post it up here. I should have posted it up here. But anyways, no, I guess, oh, here it is, right here. Here it is, right here. You know what? So it's not even 29, it's actually 27. Look at this. Look at this. BPM, 27. There it is. There it is right there. Okay, that's elite level athlete stuff right there. Training at 4 a.m. in the morning. Training at 4 a.m. in the morning. That's it, bro. Yeah, so Coogan, you would absolutely get effed up, bro. Straight up. You would absolutely get effed up. No doubt about it. But yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. It is what it is. He says 3 a.m. club here, brother. What part of the world are you from, man? What part of the world are you from? Let me know what part of the world you are from, MJ. He says, be humble, brother. Well, I am, man. He says, mine is better. I can also up way higher and lift more. You know what you are, Fresh? Listen, you're an anonymous guy, okay? For as long as I've known you, I don't know what you look like. You just want me to believe you in these imaginations of what you are and who you are. You know, next thing you know, you're 14 years old. Next thing you know, you're 300 pounds and 6'8". Next thing you know, you're a CIA agent. Next thing you know, you're a Navy SEAL. You can be whatever you want to be when you are online. But the reality is, when I'm online, I really am who I am, just like who I am in real life. He says, is Jiri Khamzat officially confirmed yet? No, it is not, but that is the trajectory that they are going for, and they will announce it soon. So you heard it here first. I'm not a can of paint. Yeah, that exactly. You're not a can of paint because I don't know you from a can of paint. So, you know, so there it is. What else? Yeah, so that fight is bound to happen, right? Because you got to understand, Alex Pereira, it is confirmed behind the scenes that he is going to fight at the White House. Okay, that is absolutely confirmed. He will fight at the White House, and that means he has to vacate the belt. Okay? And when he vacates the belt, somebody has to fight for the belt. Tom Aspinall is also going to vacate the belt because he can't fight any longer because of his eye injury. MJ says, born in Ireland, from an Irish mother and Norwegian father. Okay, but you live in the southwest of the Netherlands. Okay. Viking. Okay, he's saying that you're a Viking. Okay. Obviously, that's one of the Viking states. Viking MJ, he said. Okay, so
Used what?
So, let's see here. What else? Oh, yes. Let's hear what Johnny Nelson had to say about Eddie Hearn. Okay, and, wow. Okay, Conor Benn signs with Dana White. True Geordie had come out with that. All right, let's hear Johnny Nelson first, though, before we hear True
If you
Geordie.
have CalFresh, Medi-Cal, or SSI, you may qualify for a free iPhone 11, plus up to 10 gigabytes.
The episode of The Uncomfortable Truth, and what a day it's been. Or what a 12-hour period where the boxing world has turned upside down, where Conor Benn has left Eddie Hearn. Normally we'd catch up on a Sunday talking about the results from tonight's boxing, but we've done a bit of an emergency podcast, Johnny, so appreciate you coming on. I think the only question I could start with is before we get into the nitty-gritty, the moment you saw that post, welcome to Zuffa Boxing, Conor Benn, what's the first thing that went through your head?
The first thing that went through my head was Eddie said something 2 days ago, and he said something about fighters or leavers, fighters, this will happen, this is business, in regards to Dana White's back and forth with them. So Eddie knew a few days ago, but it was just a bit of an odd thing to say when he said it. And so that kind of stood out. I went, oh, that's what you were referring to, because Eddie said he knew a few days ago.
That's right, because a few days ago, he was saying, you know what, this is like taking, from a baby. He says, but I am a proud follower of Jesus. Well, as Muslims, we believe and follow Jesus as well. The only difference is that we don't believe he's the son of God. Yeah, that's the only difference. But yeah, Dana White was saying at a press conference, after, I believe it was a Zuffa event, he says, yeah, this is like taking from babies. This is like taking from babies. This is easy work. Now we know what he meant. He took Conor Benn like it was easy. And he treated Eddie Hearn like a baby.
What are my thoughts on it? Well, my thoughts on loyalty. And if someone's good to me, if someone's right to me, I'm right to them. Brendan, I'm fiercely loyal to Brendan because of what he did now. He did change my life. And I get that.
He said, holy is his name you're forgetting, brother. Well, I mean, we're not going to get into that right now.
Conor, I think Conor's going to get a hell of a lot of backlash because Eddie, as I've said before, if Eddie's on your side, he's going to fight tooth and nail. He's going to put his heart on the line for you. He'll do everything. The worst thing you want to be is an enemy of Eddie. And Eddie being stood by Conor through thick and thin, and this boy was, at his wit's end, and you got to commend him on that. So now Conor's getting a backlash, and
yes, we have to say, peace be upon him. But yeah, let's get to this Eddie Hearn story right here. I know I covered it yesterday, but I want to hear what other people have to say about this. In particular, Johnny Nelson, former cruiserweight champion of the world. On top of that, one of the best boxing pundits in today's media landscape of combat sports.
Amazing lady's getting a lot of praise to say, and a lot of sympathy, and I get it. I get it because this is personal. So it's business and personal. The business side of it, our sport, Brendan always said, it's best, it's a beautiful game. It's worse, it's a dirty, rotten, prostituting game. In our sport, the one thing I've known is this: a promoter, a manager will have 12, 20, 50,000 fighters, and each fighter, he's an individual. So you might not be my priority because I've got to deal with him, and him. You are your priority when you're a fighter. Conor Benn this is a business decision because I'm quite sure he and Eddie got on well. I'm quite sure it wasn't an easy decision for Conor to make because of the personal side of it crossing over. But Eddie's an amazing businessman. That's why he's been so successful. He wasn't born. He might have been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He turned out that spoon to gold. So he deserves everything he's got, and all the success that he's done. He truly deserves it. But this is business, and sometimes he's had to make decisions that are hard business decisions. So Conor Benn has had to make a hard business decision that hurts a lot of people. that hurt his feelings, and it's crossed over to the personal, because Eddie just never saw that side of it, and that he says himself, that's the mistake I made. I dropped the ball, you know, and I can remember when Naz left Frank Warren, and I think Frank Warren was kind of blindsided by it, and allegedly pissed off by it, because Naz did his own direct deal. Frank didn't see it coming, and we always said amongst us, I think Naz was probably one of the few fighters that Frank fell in love with, and he gave him the benefit of the doubt, that trust. And
all right, guys, listen, I have a poll for you guys, right? I got a poll. Did Conor Benn make the right decision? I want to hear some, feedback on this one. Let me know what you guys think. Did Conor Benn make the right decision signing with Dana White? Let me know right now.
But that was business, and at the end of the day, Naz did what was best for Naz. So what Conor's done what's best for him, for business, because and I gather it's a one-fight deal. Are you talking $15 million?
So remember, $15 million, right? Would Eddie Hearn offer him something like that? Now, how much did Conor Benn make for the Eubank fight? Let's see here. What did he make? Okay, so Ben is expected to make up for his fight against Chris Eubank, $10 million. Okay, so $10 million, but within that $10 million, Dana White decided they're going to give him $15 million. Once again, I got that poll up. Answer the question, guys. Is he making the right decision? Yes or no? Let me know. So far, no. We got one person saying no. All right, yeah. Let's get the polls going, and then we'll take a look at and analyze the polls afterwards. No. Whoever wrote no, let me know on the comment section why you don't think that it's a good idea that why you don't think he made the right decision. I mean, 15 million versus 10 million that he made from Chris Eubank. I mean, a $5 million difference, I suppose, right? But then when you add taxes involved, it seems like a pretty lucrative deal. He says, yes, that's like a one-fight deal. Okay.
Oh, look at it this way. If you were Conor Benn, regardless of how good you think he is or isn't, or where do you think he stands in the landscape of boxing, if you were Conor Benn and you were offered $15 million for a one-fight deal, which should be his next fight, allegedly I'm hearing it might be in the UK in May, that's what I'm hearing. If you were offered that, would you think about it? Or would you say, no, I'm good, man. I might not even get a fraction of that, but I'm good, I'm going to stay where I am. God forbid he lost his next fight. He just thought, damn it.
Wow, okay, so out of the 2 votes so far, people are saying no, right? They don't believe that he made the right decision. That's interesting, man. That's interesting that you guys are saying he didn't make the right decisions. And, if you feel that way, let me know on the comment section below why you guys feel that way.
So I did go on to fight another day where Conor Benn is like, God, my career's in tatters. I'm never going to get that kind of money. So he's made a tough business decision that he's going to get backlash off. I don't doubt that he's hurting it. The decision he's made is hurting him. I don't doubt it's been a very hard decision. I don't doubt for 1 second that Eddie is absolutely...
Yeah, that is a hard decision for Conor Benn if you think about it, right? The reason why that's a hard decision for Conor Benn, look, we're talking about a $5 million difference, right? But then again, we're also talking about $10 million that he made for the Eubank fight. If Conor Benn was to fight just any random, would Matchroom give him $10 million? They gave him $10 million because it was a Chris Eubank. You know what I mean? It was a Chris Eubank fight, so there's a reason why they gave him $10 million. The UFC is willing to give him $15 million, and we don't even know who his opponent is yet. My guesstimate, you want to know what my guesstimate is? It is probably going to be the winner of Barrios and Ryan Garcia tonight. Okay? So be on the lookout for that fight tonight as well. Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios. I believe that is where they're going to try to strike a deal with either Mario Barrios or Ryan Garcia. The problem, though, is that it's going to be for a WBC belt. And you know what the WBC feels about Zuffa. You know how Zuffa feels about the WBC. You've heard Mauricio Suleiman talk about this with Ariel Helwani, how they tried to kick him out of his hotel room. They didn't give him a press pass. They didn't give him a front row seat to the Terrence Crawford-Canelo fight. Yeah, he had a lot of complaints. So far, we got 100% people saying Conor Ben did not make the right decision, right? Nobody thinks that he made the right decision, and if so, let me know.
Absolutely burning inside because you think, shit, but this is business. It's how our sport is business, and what Conor's done is he's prioritised him, because when he's done, Eddie will still be operating. You know, with the next Conor Ben, with the next Anthony Joshua, with the next XYZ. When Conor's done, he's done. And that's what, in our sport, that's what you've got to understand. Because when you're a fighter and your promoter saying to you, yeah, I've got your fight next month. Oh, it's month after. And you've been waiting. But so your best years of...
Look, I agree with Johnny Nelson on this, right? When you're a fighter, you have to make the decision that is the best for you. Because it is a small window. You can get hurt. On top of that, you want to make the most money out of it. And I think ultimately that is the final decision that Conor Ben has made as a result of that.
Gone, and then you think, oh God, I shouldn't have done that, only because I trust you and I was loyal to you, you know. But unfortunately, I'm the only one that's been affected by it, because you've got all these other fighters that we operate with, you know. So what Conor's done is he's made a brutal decision that he's going to get backlash from. But for he personally, it works for him personally, and this is only one fight. So and again, do not be surprised if Conor...
So I kind of understand why, out of the 3 people that answered the poll, right, why they believe that Conor Ben made the wrong decision. Because ultimately, I think it falls under the morality fallacy, right, rather than, like, making the right business decision. In my opinion, I think Conor Ben made the right business decision, but let me know on the polls what you think. Did Conor Ben make the right decision? Let me know.
Conor Ben and Eddie Hearn end up working together in the future. This is one fight because, again, it's business. So say, for instance, Conor has this fight, gets paid XYZ what for it, and he's still a free agent, and he looks around and he's saying, Eddie, can you do a deal? This is business, over.
Arion says Conor's going to fight a bum in Zuffa and make 8 figures, then go fight a real champion. Exactly. Right? So if he wants to go fight a real champion, maybe it should be with Eddie Hearn, because from what it seems right now, Zuffa is not really playing it nice with the governing bodies, right? And it kind of makes me wonder, is Jai Apataya even going to be able to defend his IBF championship belt against Brandon Glanton? You know, one never knows, but let me know, guys, on the poll. Did Conor Ben make the right decision? Yes or no? Hit the yes or the no button.
All right. I'll never trust you again like I did, but of course, this is business. Who'd have ever thought Eddie and Frank would be working together? Trust me, down the line, Eddie and Dana White will be working together. So
Facts. That's really what it is, right? By the end of the day, everybody works with everybody. Look, Deontay Wilder, he was part of the 5-on-5 series with Matchroom versus Queensberry. Guess what team he was on? He was in the Matchroom team. Okay, I want you to think about that. He was in the Matchroom team, and, well, he lost. But prior to that, he never wanted to be with Eddie Hearn. He thought Eddie Hearn was this white colonizer or whatever type of, political or racial innuendos that he wanted to throw at Eddie Hearn as to the reason why he doesn't trust them. Yet Deontay Wilder's manager is a guy named Finkelstein. I let you figure that out.
So what I'm saying is it's about people understanding. It's just, this is emotional, it's personal, it's crossed over to business. Everybody and anybody's blindsided because our sport...
I would say it's like having another producer in the room that knows exactly what your song needs. This is co-producer. The fast...
You hear every whisper that's going. If you scratch your fall, and it's a big deal in boxing, we know about it. So this has blindsided everybody. Publicly right now, Eddie knew a few days ago.
Fresh Millinju says, Wilder is a moron like LeBron. Well, they're not exactly the highest IQ of people, are they? Right? Like, also, LeBron doesn't really... You know what? Here's the difference, at least, between Deontay Wilder and LeBron, right? At least Deontay Wilder stands for something. Wilder... I can't say he stands for anything. He stands for himself.
And so Connor's getting a lot of backlash. I get what he's done. I think he's very brave. Would I have done it? Even though what I've explained to you, I'd probably struggle to do that. I'd probably struggle to do it because...
Let me... On that thought, because this is one of the questions I had for you. Would I ever do it? So you've obviously talked about your loyalty to Brendan Ingle. He was your manager and your trainer. Let's just say somebody came out and said, Johnny, I'm going to give you 3 times what you've ever earned, back in them days, where it was millions of pounds, but you got to leave Brendan Ingle and go to a different gym to train you.
Yeah. And this is what I was about to say. I couldn't do it. And it might be a stupid answer. It might be, you shoot myself in the foot. It might go against everything I've just said. I couldn't do it because I've got to sleep at night. You know, if this man stuck by me through thick and thin when nobody else did, money's not my God, I couldn't do it. And you know what? Connor could do it. So we don't know the relationship or how he's brought himself to be able to do this to Eddie because Eddie stuck by him. But maybe it was a very hard decision for him to make. In his statement, he said, "I wish we could work along to do this, be on this ride together." You know, that was a written statement. I don't know how that's construed, or if he wrote it, or if he meant it himself. But, and I'm quite sure eventually you're going to be able to put a microphone in front of him for him to give you his play on it. But I couldn't do it. You know, and everybody's built differently, and I get it. He's made the right financial decision that suits him. And this is something Eddie would do because this is business. But unfortunately, personal and business has crossed over. And so this is why Eddie's been blindsided. Connor's getting hammered, you know, and all the naysayers, Chris Eubank Jr., you're giving him an excuse to use the word scumbag left, right, centre. So everybody's getting it because Connor's made a really tough decision that most people would struggle with.
All right, so I'm going to end it with that. If you want to see the rest of that interview, check out Boxing King Media with Johnny Nelson dropping the uncomfortable truth on why Conor Benn signed with Dana White rather than signing back with Eddie Hearn. And look, Eddie Hearn is going to take this personal even though it is business because by the end of the day, Dana White attacked Eddie Hearn, and because of that, it is the worst betrayal that Eddie Hearn could feel because he went to his ops. You know, and that is the reason why a lot of you... I'm going to end the poll right now, right? We only had like 3 votes on that, but, you know, within that vote, all of you had decided that, you know what, it is Conor Benn who did not make the right decision. And reason being is because, let's be honest, right? It is because you guys are leaning towards loyalty, right? You're leaning towards the morality fallacy more than anything. Fresh Mellinger says, did you see Ambassador Huckabee say Israel has the right to the entire Middle East? I mean, look, you got to understand something, right? A lot of these right-wing guys are just, you know, performative assholes, right? And that also includes you, Fresh, right? You want to know why people love you in this chat so much, right? Because when you were gone and you had, you know, a bit of your going away stint, right? People were asking about you. Oh, where's Fresh Melon Juice? Ha-ha, Fresh Melon Juice is great. I like him. He's racist. Ha-ha. Like, that's what they know you as. They know you as the guy who is racist. They're like, yeah, we like him because he's racist. That's really all there is to it. All these right-wing dudes, you know, all you got to do is just say racist things, make fun of marginalized groups, act in a way of performative cruelty to appease to a certain political party, and everybody calls you base. Yeah, he's so base, dude. Yeah. Oh my God, he's so base. Oh my God, Bryce Mitchell is so base because he said something racist. Oh my God, Fresh Melon Juice is so base because he... I know, Fresh. I know you're not on the side of Israel, but, you know, let's be honest, right? You may not be on the side of Israel, but you do say a lot of, racially... undertoned statements. You know what I mean? Like, and quite frankly, I mean, that's why people love you in the chat. You know, they love you in the chat for that reason alone. Because, well, look, here's the thing. I mean, you never really said anything outrageous, right? Because obviously you never gave me a reason to ban you off the channel, right? You just know how to say enough to, express the racial undertones that you have and then just leave it alone after that. He says, I was stating facts, recent news. No, I know you are. I know that Mike Huckabee said that. I was just using you as an example as to why, let's say, all these other right-wing nut jobs and, and Trump, magtards would, agree with him in a way that people in the chat would agree with you. Well, all right, guys, listen, that is all that I have for this one right now. That is 2 hours of reacting to Khamzat Chimaev fighting Jiri Prochazka in April 11th, UFC 327. That is the matchup that is going to happen. They will announce it soon. They're obviously not going to let you know right now, but behind the scenes, those are the rumblings that is going on. What else did we talk about here? We talked about the Conor Benn situation. We talked about Carl Froch fighting John Fury. We also talked about Fluffy and Sean Strickland, which is going on. And by the way, in 10 minutes, the Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington prelims on DAZN is starting. That's a fight that we have going on today. We also have Mario Barrios taking on Ryan Garcia. That's later on tonight. And obviously the UFC sometime around, what time is that fight? I believe that fight is at around 2 p.m. West Coast time. All right, so listen, guys, that is all that I have for you right now. Obviously, I'm fasting for Ramadan. Been up, praying Tarawih, fasting. Now it's, fasting hours right now. I'm going to go get some sleep, catch up on some sleep, get some energy, and then maybe come back and do another stream. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow. Maybe on the next video. I haven't done a video in a while. Just been doing live streams. I just figured it's a lot easier to do live streams than just pump out a video. But I will be pumping out videos once again, in a little bit of a shorter form, concept. Whereas with the live stream, obviously it's a much more long form concept. And that's something I'm just more familiar with. I'm more comfortable with long form than shorts, right? But I will still do them. It must be done. With that in mind, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.